You already mentioned you're big into music and you've been to shows at the Greek
Quite a bit.
amphitheater
Yeah.
many times in LA, which is legendary.
Uh-huh.
And so you also mentioned you got to work off duty.
At the Greek, when
Yeah.
I was working patrol, you could work off duty at the Greek. So I know my son was 10 years old. My oldest son was 10. So I have to go back. So that's about 40 years ago. It would have been.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go 40 years. I'm working there, and it's Run DMC and the Beastie Boys are there for 2 nights. And I take my son. His first concert, and he'll never forgive me for it because it's traumatized him for life. Just being in that environment where you have Run DMC and the Beastie
And
Boys on stage.
He's a young kid.
He's 10 years old. He still talks about it. How'd you do that? I said, well, I thought you might like it. So the next night, I didn't take him. I went there, and my partner and I are watching the crowd, and the supervisor, which is another officer, he's the supervisor of us. He comes over and says, Vinnie, you, and I can't remember my partner. He says, you got to go over to the security office. They just arrested Mike Tyson. I said, what? And I said, Mike Tyson? And I said, yeah. He says, he was, and he's telling me, what happened was he was driving in, parked it right there where the buses park, where everybody's going to leave. And one of the little parking attendants goes over there and trying to explain, saying, you can't park here, sir. You can't park here, sir. And I don't know if you'd recognize him, but whoever it was. And Tyson reacted and just gave him a face shove and pretty much gave him a bloody nose and almost broke his face. So he wanted him arrested. He wanted
to press charges.
He wanted to press charges against him, and I think it was Jinx. It was this officer's name. He escorted him to the security office, and he says, "Come on." We went over there to the security office, and we walk in, and there's Mike Tyson, and there's his then girlfriend, maybe wife. Can't remember her name.
Yeah, I don't know.
She was there, and he was there, and in the other corner was, I want to say, this parking checker.
The victim.
The victim. And he's being talked to, and Mike Tyson was really polite. He's like there, and he said, "I'm sorry, officers," and he's standing there. He was just standing there. I kind of felt bad for him, but he is huge, and I'm, at the time, I was probably maybe 160. And I wasn't prepared to do anything to him. But I said, and I told him, Mr. Tyson says, you are under arrest. I said, you are under arrest. I says, and you have to remain here, just to explain. But if there's going to be an arrest, it's going to be a private person's arrest, and he'll have to make the arrest. We explained it to him quite like that. And he said, I understand. And all this while, his girlfriend / whatever, she's clinging on to his arm. It was touching.
Aww.
And we said, well, we're going to, so we stood around, didn't talk much after that. He was just waiting and waiting. And after about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then I want to say Jinx came back, and he says he's not going to press charges. He doesn't want to make a private person's arrest. So,
oh, interesting.
So, okay. So we said, you're free, you're free to go. But I think it said, it would have been funny if I had said, you have to move your car. No, but that was where it was. Turns out the guy ended up suing, and they settled out of court.
Right.
That was the bottom line on that one. He got money out of it. But it was
Which is what he wanted, I'm sure.
Yeah, which is what but he really got his face messed up, because I said, oh boy, one of those paws going on you.
Right.
So that was a Mike Tyson.
Wow. That's hilarious. For us, because we were the one that got punched by Mike Tyson. Right?